Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Woerner to statewide news service, jbiztechvalley.com, and as you can see here, columnist for the Jewish Press.
Yes, I'm having a lot of fun with all three assignments, and the column in the Jewish Press is called Albany Beat, and I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. But someone who does relate very well with the Jewish community is our guest today, Carrie Woerner, Assemblywoman from Saratoga and Washington counties, to say the least. But there's all these little towns and villages within your district. But welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
You're from Round Lake, which is Saratoga County.
Yes.
So, but it's very exciting to have you here. But I want to let you know that you're here on an auspicious day. It's our third anniversary show.
Congratulations.
You're the 370th guest.
There you go.
In 3 years.
Fantastic.
So we have a little
celebration.
We
should have three candles.
So we're going to just have a little bite.
Have a bite, and I'm on a diet, of course, you know that. We wanted to connect the Jew, of course, we're on the Jewish View with Saratoga. There is a rich history with the Jewish community with Saratoga.
It's true. The springs and the waters have been a magnet for people from around the world. And during the summers, we have had for many decades, and we still have, a Jewish community that is resident throughout the year, but then come up from Brooklyn and from New York City to enjoy the waters in Saratoga Springs, it's been a rich part of our heritage and our community, and there's a number of people who have researched the Jewish community in Saratoga Springs, and it has ebbed and flowed over the years. But it's a big part of
people
who the community is.
And in the heart of Saratoga Springs, there's a historic sign. Do you know about this?
The gut, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I wanted you to say it, but I didn't want to say it if you didn't know
Yes.
it. So, yes, the gut.
Right.
And that's really where the Jewish community really evolved from. And
exactly. And apparently there was at one time a significant number of Jewish delis and that sadly no longer exist.
Yeah, you have to bring some implements, some delis, and we could use some in the Capital District. But that people went to the baths. It's very interesting. I tell people when there's the bath, when you go into the baths, it's like in the old times, which really, they have arthritis, rheumatism, people have it. Really, there's no cure for it even today. You're talking 100 years later. And what do you do? So these mineral baths were told to heal people.
There are 9 different springs in Saratoga Springs, and each one of them has a different mineral composition. Mm-hmm. And so what happened in the middle of the 19th century is that doctors of paleontology, which was the study of the healing properties of water, came up with prescriptions, if you will. So you would go to the paleontologist and you would say, my elbow hurts, I've got a sick tummy, I've had a bad cough. And he would say, here's your prescription. You're going to, in the morning, you're going to get up and you're going to go to the Big Red Spring and you'll take a dip in that, and then you'll walk over to the Deer Spring and you'll have a glass of water there, and then to the Hawthorne Spring and you'll have a glass of water there, and then you'll repeat it. Well, you were taking a multivitamin because these were all minerals. Some of them were sulfa drugs, so if you had an infection, it was helping clear up the infection. You were drinking water, so you were getting hydrated. Instead of being in unhealthful urban city air, you were breathing clean mountain air. And for women, because we were under the care of a doctor, it was okay to be without a corset, so women could fully inflate their lungs. And you were walking. So it's a very healthful lifestyle, and people got better.
I never heard that. That's very interesting. I've been here so long, and I even went to the Lincoln Baths, the Roosevelt Baths. No one ever told me all that history. That's very interesting.
Well, I'll tell you, I grew up in Brooklyn, and my doctor's care was yeah, my elbow hurts, so don't do this. And it won't hurt.
Right.
Doctor, it hurts. Don't do that.
People don't do
was the
that
care, right?
nowadays. You don't hear that.
You don't hear about it very often. You do find that there are some very loyal drinkers of the waters from the park. So they'll go out and fill up bottles of water. And different springs have, as I said, different mineral properties. So there are some, and in the last couple of years, there's a fellow who does tours of the mineral springs, and he'll take you around and tell you which spring has what mineral properties.
I still remember, because, well, I've been here for many years, but now the old Jewish people that they came after World War II, there's not that many. I mean, 70 years after World War II, so you don't have that many of these old timers. Now everybody's America. Oh, something's wrong with you, here's a pill, here's a pill. You know, that's the American medicine today. And these old timers were, because they knew from Hungary there was
Yeah.
these waters, so they knew, ooh, the waters, they come up from New York. This old geezer, this old man, I remember he was picking up these he couldn't even, he's like hunched over. So the first time I saw, I said in Yiddish, the Jewish language, what are you doing? He says, oh, sehr good. It's very good for you, very good for you. You know, so that was, like, again, old timer. Now, I don't know if that's what I'm saying at the beginning. There's no cure for it anyway. If you'd say have a better cure for arthritis and rheumatism and certain things.
Right.
And like you say, you know, a little exercise, good air, you know.
A little
probably,
water.
Yeah,
It's a little
probably.
psychosomatic where it makes you feel better, so you think you feel better, so you do feel better.
Yeah, there's a
You
certain
know,
amount of that too.
But,
Yeah.
you know, to bring it more to modern day, nice segue here, when you talk about, oh, the doctor gives you a pill, the legislature just took on this addiction where you passed a measure
Yes.
where you don't get a month's worth of opioids or whatever.
Right.
You get, you know, a few days, 5 days supply or
5
something.
day supply, right.
So,
Which is still quite a few tabs of it. Yeah, you know, our communities, urban communities, rural communities, suburban communities, everybody is dealing with the scourge of opioid and heroin addiction. And it is, you know, the urban communities have been dealing with this for many years.
Decades.
Decades. The African American community, the Latino community have been dealing with this for decades, and now it has hit the broader population. And you know, sadly, we didn't address it when it was a minority based, but now, you know, now is better than never. And so we have taken some steps to try and restrict the circumstances under which an opioid addiction can arise. And then we've taken some, in my view, modest steps to help ensure that people have the support that they need to enter recovery when they're ready. It's not enough. We need to do more, but at least it's a step
They
in the
should
right
take a
direction.
vacation in Saratoga Springs.
That's
That's really, you're right, the old time remedy. You know, people are down and they need a lift up. Really, I mean, almost being serious about it.
So-
you know, really, maybe that would be helpful for people to get out of the city and fresh air, and
Yeah.
probably would help a lot of people's mental attitudes.
so what I like to do on the show for a first-time guest is to have the audience learn about who you are.
Okay.
Not just the title you hold, but who you are. And I find that you have a fascinating background, that I don't know how you ever jumped from your background to politics, but let's go through this. You had an undergraduate degree from Carnegie Mellon University. Did I
Yes.
pronounce that right? Carnegie Mellon?
You did?
In
Carnegie.
Pittsburgh. It's not Carnegie, it's Carnegie.
Really?
Carnegie.
Thank
You're
you.
right then. You're the reporter.
That's
okay.
it. And an MBA from Santa Clara University in
Yes.
California.
Yes.
You know, you're moving further away. And you began a 30-year career in software, a successful career, it says here, but anyway, career in software and technical writing, working at firms such as Dell, Perot Systems, and IBM.
That's right. Yes.
So did you know Fiorina at IBM? Was she IBM?
No, she's at HP.
She was HP?
Yeah.
Who's the head of IBM?
Well, right now it's,
No, back when you were there. Wasn't there a woman heading up IBM?
there is now.
There is now? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So John Akers was, when I started, it was John Akers was
Okay,
the
so you had
CEO.
this wonderful background in
Yes.
technology and computers. Now you come into the assembly.
Right.
And you look at these machines and you say, oh,
Oh, exactly.
Oy.
Yeah,
and you can't even bring your own to
No,
hook
you-
into the mainframe.
Not to hook into the, yes, no, yes, you can. I have a laptop that I use on the floor.
On the floor?
Yes.
But I'm talking about in your office. If you wanted to outfit your own office with modern, up-to-date computers, it'll crash everything else.
Oh, yes, no, I
Why,
couldn't
'cause
do
it's
that.
such an old
It's
system?
yeah,
I
it's an
don't
old
know.
system compared
Yeah.
to what we have today. I mean, it's
Right.
functional.
Yes.
It works, but you know, when you come
There's
from a
not been,
background like you,
there's not been much investment in technology for members of the Assembly. That is a true statement.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
and you wonder why they can change carpets, but they can't update the computers.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm more interested in seeing them invest in technology to make the state's agencies function more efficiently, and particularly to provide a better interface for citizens to interface with the government. And I think that's if we're going to make, and the state should be making technology investments, that's where I want to see it made, is to ensure that we are making the best use of technology to streamline our processes, to make that interface between the citizenry and its government cleaner and easier to manage, more transparent.
I mean, it's sort of like, you have certain programs that are all computer-based, and they just keep, like Office of Children and Family Services, and, they have this system that just keeps crashing and keeps going down. The IT people just keep trying to fix it and patch it, and, you have agencies all around the state who keep calling central office, and they keep trying say, what's going on here? What are you doing? You don't know what you're
Right.
doing, and things like that. So,
Well, if you're interested in this topic, I would tell you that
I will bring it up.
the CIO
Yes.
for the state,
Yes.
Maggie Miller, it would be a
Yes.
terrific person for you to have on as your guest, because she is really undertaking a transformation of the state's IT infrastructure, from consolidating data centers into a few very modern, up-to-date, reliable, robust,
Good.
resilient data centers, and then redoing the data infrastructure, the application infrastructure, creating mobile apps. She's about a quarter of the way through that transformation, but she's got a big vision, and I really applaud her for taking it on. That role in any organization is a challenging
It
one,
is, sure.
and to do it on a statewide level in a place like New York State is even more so. So we could talk a long time about the deficits that we have in technology, but I think it's a lot more interesting to think how technology could be put to better use to make things more efficient, to deliver better service with lower cost. I think the potential is so great. I just think that's a fascinating topic. I could talk for a long time
so
on
now,
that.
we have certain, it used to be when I first started in the legislature in the 80s, 80% of the legislature, maybe 90 were attorneys, lawyers, and they had specialties, and, that's in in their legal
Right.
field. But now we got a pharmacist, we have farmers, we have social workers, we have all sorts of
Nurses,
right?
bankers.
Right.
Yep.
So and you're the tech person.
Right.
I mean, so are you revered? I mean, I'm using this term, I guess, not as accurately as I could, but are you revered as that point person that when the assembly needs advice on where to go, what to do, how to do it, that they might consult with you possibly?
Actually, there's a more senior member who also comes from a technology background, and that's Majority Leader Morelli. He owned and ran a technology company in Rochester for a number of years, and so he really is the point person on technology in the assembly.
But it just doesn't take one mind. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
You're friendly with them. You can collaborate.
Absolutely.
You can talk together.
Absolutely.
And now maybe, when you both talk and you both speak up,
Yep.
then maybe it says, wow, this is just not a man's point of view or a woman's point of view. This is a point of view that we need to really take seriously.
Absolutely.
So you could really help him and boost him and shore it up.
Absolutely.
Because he's been here a lot of years, and you still see where we're at in the assembly with the equipment.
On the other hand, we've got tablets now, and
That's- well, yeah.
and we're not we're not using paper anymore.
Well,
So
a little bit of paper.
a little
Not
bit
as
of
mu-
paper.
no, a little bit.
Not as much,
Right.
not those huge
No,
stacks
no, no,
sitting
no,
under
no,
the
but they
desk.
still keep, a few copies.
Sure.
Just paper copies, because people still like
Sure, and
to
I,
hold
and
something.
I often will print things out that I absolutely want to carry around with me, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I think we're making steps in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to me, it's emblematic of the organization rebuilding itself. We have new leadership now, and the organization is, I think, reshaping itself. It's a different place than it was 2 years ago. So
Can't
the
imagine why.
technology
Okay.
is,
So-
technology is part of that.
So that's really terrific. So your committees that you're on is the Subcommittee of Agriculture, Production, and Technology.
Yes,
Now, I'm told these subcommittees, where you're the chair,
right,
chairwoman, chairperson, whatever.
whatever.
It's a subcommittee of one.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, and then you come up with ideas from the subcommittee of
Well,
one,
I
where
like to-
you propose to the Agriculture Committee or Technology Committee or something?
I want to
Right.
tell you a little thing that, part of being a rabbi, one of my 10 jobs is like kosher supervision. So I went to a farm, and a dairy farm.
Uh-huh.
So I hate to say this, but I was a little prejudiced. I says, all right, what's a farmer of milking the cows? I mean, all right, they're not college educated. And so in the middle of the barn, in mud, and the person, the farmer had these young guy,
Carrie knows.
these big
Waiters, yeah.
boots. And he's sitting there with a computer. He's just,
Yes.
a computer with a bunch of cows around you. And they said, no, he's a graduate of Cornell.
Yeah.
That he, these people that, you think, I saw a cow,
Right.
to milk a cow, what does it take? But that's, I'm saying, that's really up what you're saying, that subcommittee of putting computer and technology together on the farm.
Right. One of the things that is kind of a little-known fact is that the fastest-growing sector of venture capital investments is in agriculture technology.
Well, that's interesting.
And the reason for that, of course, is that it's a global food market, and big portions of the world don't have a climate that allows them to grow sufficient food for their population. So technology can help address that, both in terms of seed technologies, which are a bit controversial, but also irrigation systems. We can do controlled environment agriculture.
Well, I know even with cows, they're doing that. They put up these robots to analyze the milk right
Absolutely.
away.
And then, and part of the challenge is then to be able to maximize the production in a relatively small amount of space. And one way that they do that on a dairy farm is through the use of big data technology. So you'll find on a dairy farm that the cows have, I call them like Fitbits. They look like what you wear around your wrist, but they wear them around their neck, and it collects all kinds of data. When did they eat? How much did they eat? Were they standing? Were they sitting? Were they sleeping? How much did they walk around? And it's they wear an RFID tag in their ear, and so when they're milked, the milking machine automatically tests the milk. So for the fat content, the protein content, any signs of infection and disease. Right. And it's correlated with the behavioral data that they collect off of the Fitbit. And then the farmer does analysis on not just the individual cow, but on the herd as a whole. And that data then can help them decide, should we change the feed mix for certain cows? Should we, do we need to change the configuration of where they're living? Do we need to move them?
Pull the milk because there's an infection there. They could just pull it right out of the herd.
Absolutely. So the use of technology in farming is really causing our farmers to be a lot more efficient, to increase their productivity and ultimately increase their profitability. And on a global basis, it's going to allow us to help communities around the world that don't necessarily have a very good agriculture environment to maximize what they do have to produce food for their own population.
So I just wanted to go through the committee. So you're on the Agriculture Committee?
Yes.
Local Governments Committee, that
Yes.
makes sense for you?
Yep.
Racing and Wagering Committee.
Yes.
Horse racing, you represent Saratoga Springs.
I do.
So that makes sense.
Come to the races, 18 more days.
You know, they raised the price for the admission to $5. That's
Too
a
much for you.
40% increase in just 2 years, from $3 to $5. And I don't see why they needed to do a 40% increase for admission. This is supposed to be welcoming and open and not supposed to,
$5 isn't that much.
But you know what? It's a lot when you go on to be a spinner and you want to get the
Well,
gifts.
yes, but we're
and
not
you can't
looking,
get as
we
many.
actually are not hoping that we have spinners. We'd like to have people come and enjoy the races.
you got
and
both.
Spend the day. We're having record numbers of,
I know you are.
at the track
That's
this year.
wonderful.
And we had record numbers
You
last
lost
year.
me.
I'm sorry about that.
So anyway, so then the Committee on Small Business, where you
Yes.
have tons of small businesses in your area.
Yep,
And then Tourism, Parks, Arts, and Sports Development,
yes,
which I have a great idea for you, and
Yes,
we'll talk later.
yep,
And then you're a member of the Legislative Women's Caucus.
yes.
Okay.
How many years have you been there?
This is the end of my second year, my first term.
First time.
Oh, you did pretty well for,
First
your
term.
one term. Yeah, you're ahead of the whole, woman. There's a lot of women. How many women are there?
Well, there's more women now than ever before.
Before, yeah.
And it's about a quarter, a third. A
30,
third.
I think there's 35 of us, I think.
Oh, okay.
So a
And
little
just
more
the
than a third
assembly.
in just the assembly.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
out of 150. Not just the majority.
Right, right, yeah.
You know, I said in my column, I wrote that, where is it that, 76 is not the majority of 150 when you count the assembly? When the speaker is counting. 76 is not the majority. It's a majority of whatever the conference number is of the majority conference. He totally dismisses. I know you don't. You're like, why are you bringing this up to me now? You're getting me in trouble. I'm sorry. Okay, I see that.
But still, you've done,
Lightning's coming out of your eye.
still, you've done very well for the last, 2
So
years
anyhow.
that you've been in there.
Thank you.
Yes, you're doing great, and you're doing great. Now, was that an open seat, or did you?
It was an
defeat-
open seat.
It was an open, because
Yes.
wasn't that the old Bobby DeAndre seat?
Oh, many years ago it was.
old.
Yeah. Tony Jordan was the
Yes.
member most recently
Okay,
before
and then he
me.
became the DA in Washington County.
Right.
Do you have a good relationship with him, even though
I
he's an
do.
R and you're a D?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a great advisor.
Okay.
And certainly on issues related to the justice system. I'm not, as you know, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have that background.
Right.
So I reach out to him and to his peer in Saratoga County, often to just
Hagan?
Karen Hagan, yes.
Yes, right.
To
Karen.
get advice and counsel on what is this, what are the implications of this? What happens if we do that? And they're terrific
Now,
advisors.
in your Washington County portion of your district, you have the municipality of Shushan.
I do.
So,
I do, which
go
is
ahead.
part of Salem.
Well, that's a historical Jewish
Location.
The Purim story, which is from the book of Esther, the capital of Persia was Shushan.
Okay.
I always heard that every city in the Old Testament, and I never went through it totally, but I heard the statement, is that there is a namesake like that in the United States. Did you ever hear
Yeah,
that?
I mean, look, you got a lot of them in New York State.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Jerusalem and...
A lot of the communities, particularly in the 19th century, when right after the Civil War, there was a great explosion of religious fervor, and many of the upstate communities. The community I live in, Round Lake, was a Methodist Episcopal summer camp. The first year it opened, they had 20,000 people that rode up on the train to hear the preaching in Round Lake. And so it doesn't surprise me at all to think that upstate New York has a strong religious connection in its place naming. That
That's interesting.
doesn't surprise me.
I've never heard of the reason for it. But
So I
that's
needed to at least insert that somewhere in here.
interesting. A Jewish view, you have to put in something Jewish.
Now, I wanted to go over some of the bills because he's saying how successful and how prominent you are with your committee assignments. So let's go over some of the bills, see where they ended up.
Okay.
Repeals the gap elimination adjustment.
Yes,
You were the lead on that one?
I was.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. I certainly was not the only voice calling for the repeal of the gap elimination adjustment, but we put together a broad coalition to really make the case that
He's
it was
going to
time.
ask you, what is the gap elimination adjustment?
What is the gap of
In 2009, when the state hit a slump in its budget, then Governor Patterson took money away from the schools to close the operating budget gap, and promised at that point that the money would be paid back, and it wasn't. And so it had been paid back a little at a time over here and there, but there was still a substantial amount of money owed at the beginning of 2015. So over 2 years, we got the whole thing restored.
back to the school?
So that passed both houses and signed by the governor?
Yes.
Excellent, okay. So then you have...
That's a pretty big
It
accomplishment.
is, really is. I'm surprised that you were the one carrying this. No pun intended on your name,
No.
I'm sorry. But allows a tax credit for certain travel expenses incurred by certain employees of the Department of Correctional and Community Supervision.
That has not yet passed.
Okay. Has it gone anywhere? Is it
No.
still in committee?
Still in committee.
What do you want to do with that? Because there's certain travel expenses, certain employees.
Right. We have, in my district, we had the Mount McGregor prison, which was closed, and most of the corrections officers were reassigned to other facilities. But they'd been living in Wilton, living in Corinth, and working at Mount McGregor for decades, and now we're being reassigned to a place much further away and not provided with a relocation expense. So this would, for a period of 3 years, defray their additional commuting costs while they travel to their new location.
And what's the opposition?
Tax credits are something that are highly scrutinized.
Because of misuse or can you rework this for next year? Or?
We will keep trying. Kathy Marchone and I are both carrying it, she in the Senate and me in the
But
Assembly.
can you rework this so that it's more palatable, whatever the objections are?
It has to be done in the context of a budget, so we'll work, we work on it during the budget season and try and build support for it.
This is one of my favorite ones. Establishes the venison donation tax credit. Venison can be kosher if the deer is killed properly.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how does it have to be killed
It
in
has
order to be considered?
shechted in the neck and a certain angle and a certain way, and it
Well,
has
you're
to
not
be...
the rabbi here, Mark. But anyway, listen, first of all, why is a deer kosher? Because there's two signs to be kosher. It has to have split hooves, and it's got to chew its cud.
Okay.
So really, it's a little bit, everybody thinks, all right, of a cow, and,
Right.
of course, a cow. But like even a giraffe would be
That's
kosher.
right. But you
Okay.
don't know where on the giraffe that carotid
But
artery
you
is.
have to, it's a whole issue in itself. It's a whole show in its own right. But in Judaism, it's very humane, even though you are killing an animal. On the other hand, you give them a fast slit into their jugular vein, and it's almost like you have a paper cut. Like, well, look at that. I didn't feel nothing. Oh, I'm bleeding.
Yeah.
And therefore, the animal doesn't even know it's dead
Right.
before it realizes
Right.
what happened.
Right. Okay. So you'd have to catch the deer first.
You have to farm it, really.
Yeah.
Farm
You
it,
you
yeah.
don't like shoot it with an arrow, you're not allowed. So there are
Yeah.
farming deer,
Right.
they do
Right.
farm them.
So
Right.
this donation tax credit for venison, what's that?
Same thing. It has to be done during the budget.
No, but what were you planning on having it, why would you have a tax credit for venison donation?
When you get a deer hunting license, you get a tag for so many. You can take so many bucks, so many deer in the course of the hunting season, and it varies depending on the number of animals that are in the herd and how they want to thin the herd out. But for many families, that's what they subsist on all winter. But for other families, for other hunters, they don't need all the venison that results from the kills that they've had. So this is a way for them to donate the venison to food pantries, so that people who are
Interesting,
using
yeah.
food pantries to supplement their nutrition can take advantage of it.
That's beautiful. Okay, so now it relates to the illegal taking of deer, since we're on deer already. I figured I'd
Yes.
highlight this and ask you about this.
So sadly, we have many legal hunters in my district across New York State, but we also have some hunters who are basically poachers. And they will drive down the road, they will spot an attractive deer on the side of the road, they will fire from their truck without regard to whether there's a child in the woods, a dog in the woods, a house back there, kill the deer. They're not taking it for food. They're just taking it for a
Really?
trophy. So they will leave the carcass on the side of the road and take the head. It's disgusting. It's dangerous. The fines are minuscule. So raising the fines to create a strong disincentive for that kind of behavior, and to create a real punishment if it
Do you know
happens.
offhand what you would raise the fines to or anything?
I think it raises the fines. It's currently like $250. I think we double it to $500
Okay.
for the first one,
So let me just ask you in the final...
which we
yeah.
passed in the Assembly, and the Senate did not pass. So we've got to
Okay.
go back and get the Senate to do it.
Take better aim next time.
Exactly. Exactly.
I just, can I
You-
put in my Jewish words just real fast? That's totally forbidden Judaism, just to kill things and waste things. You know, if you need to eat them, we said there is, you know, people like a good hamburger, you're allowed to kill a cow in a humane way, or a chicken, but just to kill things.
It's horrifying.
It's not, you're not allowed.
Now, this takes a whole different turn. You want to enact the New York State Bicycle Tourism Promotion Act, and we just heard that Pat Fahey bicycled from like Niagara
Yes.
Falls to Albany or something like this. It's
Yes.
crazy. So what's this Bicycle Tourism Promotion Act, and aren't we doing that now by having an Assemblywoman and many others bicycling
Right.
already?
So we have, I actually have two bills related to bicycling. One of them is that one that you just described, which creates, which provides funding for communities that want to create bicycle tourism kiosks, where you could rent bikes, you can have bike path tour, that sort of thing. So to create
New York City has that. kind of
City
thing.
bank,
They-
city...
A city bike.
Bike, yeah, city bike.
right, so that's what the one does, and the other one has to do with bicycles on trains, which I think is a really
Amtrak. You mean to carry it along.
exactly. Bicycle tourism is a growing segment of tourism. This generation of young people is getting their driver's license in lesser numbers than ever before.
Really? Oh.
So what they like are bikes. And so they have bikes. They want to be, when they travel someplace, they want to go on public transportation, they want to bring their bikes, they want to get off the train, bicycle around, and we want them to be able to do that in Saratoga Springs. So we're really looking to, and can I just say to you, the amount of money it would take to outfit all of the trains that run through New York State, across the state, generating, starting from New York City, and then going up here and into Montreal or Vermont or out west, it's less than $500,000 to outfit every train with the ability to wheel your bike on, hang it up on your passenger car, and be on your way.
So this is not quite a significant budget
It is
impact.
it is not at all.
be
You can
helpful
find
for
this off
tourism.
the...
It would be very helpful for tourism.
So how do you outfit Amtrak, and doesn't there need to be some federal legislation, because Amtrak's a federal
Well,
agency?
Mark, it's good you asked this question, because it took me a long time to sort of to dissect how this works, as a matter of fact. So Amtrak runs the lines, but New York State provides the funding for the cars.
Yes.
Interesting.
So New York State gives the money, has to provide the funding to Amtrak for anything they want to do. So if they want to add a baggage car, or they
Right.
want to add another passenger car, or they want to modify the passenger cars to include bicycle racks, that has to be funded by New York State,
And given to the federal government?
given to Amtrak.
Amtrak,
Yes.
which is administered by the federal government.
I don't know how it's administered. I just know that even though
So you're not
they
gonna
say
need an
Amtrak.
act- You're not going to need an act of Congress in order to
No, I
make
do not
this
need it.
happen.
We do not need an act of
Because it's
Congress.
going to cost more than $5,000 to have an act of Congress to do this.
I suspect that's right. I suspect that's right.
Mark, but we're out of time.
We are.
Yeah, it was
Well,
really great.
I just want
What
to
do you
show
have?
everyone,
All
we
right.
do have these buttons that say Hillary in Hebrew.
Maybe you
and
should have your assembly.
I'm presuming you're a Hillary supporter.
I think that we've got four candidates to choose from, and I hope everybody chooses one candidate and gets out to vote on November 8th.
There you
No,
go.
but I'm saying there's no other Democrat running, and.
There is no other
so
Democrat running.
I can only imagine that, you would think this is pretty cool,
I do think it's pretty cool.
that here's Hillary in Hebrew.
Hebrew
so,
words. Trying to get the Jewish vote out.
And then we have
You-
another
you
one,
are in New
and
York
this is
State.
from the National Jewish Democratic Committee,
right.
but it also says, I'm with Hillary.
With
I'm
her.
with her.
On the
Yeah.
top.
So anyway, Hillary and the Jews,
All right,
they're
Mark.
trying to make connections.
Great.
Jewish people vote in New York State. All right, thank you very much.
very
Actually,
welcome.
within one term, you're doing incredible work.
Thank
So you keep on going with success and good health, and we'll talk to you again to see what good things you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk with you.
Now
Thank
you
you
got
very
a
much.
second fan, another fan.
Fantastic.
And to add it to all your fan club. There
Thank you
go.
very much.
All right,
And
great to see you, Carrie.
Great to see you also.